Well, welcome back. Now, sometimes when you use a flash gun on your camera or maybe studio lighting on a model and you're using it not so much as a fill-in but as a main light, you can get quite harsh highlights on the skin of our subject. Now, I'm going to show you a technique today that will help us to blend those highlights in and make them a little bit less obvious. So I'm using Photoshop CS3, but this could apply to other versions. So we're going to make a series of adjustments now. Some of these you might need to go over them a couple of times just to get your head around them, or maybe rewind the video, just take a few notes. It's not complicated, but you just need to follow along quite closely. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to duplicate this background layer. I can drag it down to the bottom here, or you can press Command or Control J to duplicate the layer. And first thing we're going to do is do a little bit of a test of work out how much blurring we're going to need. We want to kind of clear up the skin and blend the tones together, and it's better to go slightly too far than not enough. But we're going to do this. We're going to do a little bit of a test on this Gaussian blur and apply it to our next stage. But bear with me and just work along and you'll understand what I'm going on about, hopefully. So we're going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian blur. Now, obviously, every image is a different dimension, etc. So you've got to just go in there and just test how much blurring you're going to need. As I said, we want to blend the skin so that the tones merge together, and it's better to go too far than not enough. So already I'm seeing on my image a radius of 4.7 to 6, and I'm going to split that difference there and just go slightly over 5.5. Now what we want to do now is don't click OK, we're going to click cancel, but before we do that, just make a note of this radius, 5.5, click cancel. We now go to filter, other, and go to high pass. We're going to apply that 5.5 radius, which I've already done here, into the high pass dialog box and click OK. The next step is to go to filter, blur, and back to Gaussian blur yet again. And we're going to add approximately a quarter of what we applied to the high pass, which was 5.5. So roughly quarter of that. I'm going to go for something like about 1.5, 1.6, somewhere around there. And we're going to press OK. We're then going to press Command or Control I. That's now inverted our layer. Now, just to recap, to go back a couple of steps so we're all up to date, the first thing we did a Gaussian blur, but we just did a bit of a test to see what setting we would need, which is 5.5. We cancelled the Gaussian blur, and then we did a high pass filter and applied the 5.5 to that. We've now come out of there, and we've added a Gaussian blur, roughly about a quarter of that 5.5 setting, which I've put in at 1.6. Okay, so about roughly a quarter, and we've then inverted that high pass layer, which is where we are now. So hopefully you've got all that. The next step is I'm going to change the blending mode of this layer to linear light, which is this one down here. And now you're going to see a very strange blurry picture. We're then going to double click on the side of the layer here to bring the layer styles up, and we're going to start to adjust this layer using the blend diff sliders. So we're now going to add some of the original layer image back into the layer, and we're going to do that by Alt or Option clicking on these sliders. So we're going to Alt and drag the white slider on this layer slider, the top one. So Alt or Option click, that splits the triangle, and we're going to drag this almost all the way across to the black slider at the other side. And then we're going to do the same with the underlying layer slider below. This time we're going to drag the black slider, Alt Option click to split it, and do the same and bring it right across this side. You'll notice some of the original layers come back in now, but it still looks a little bit strange. And now just click OK. So just to recap, we're going to drag that white slider, Alt Option slide the white slider across to the black one, and then we're going to Alt Option click on the black slider on the underlying layer option over to the white one. Click OK. Now if I just zoom in a little bit, you can see where we are at the moment. Here's before. Here's after. So it still looks a little bit strange. So what we're going to do is Alt or Option click on the Add the Layer Mask, and that produces a black layer mask. Remember, black conceals, white reveals. So what we want to do now is paint in on the areas of the skin this effect, but leave the things like the eyes and that well alone. And so we should end up with just the areas of skin that we want the effect to be applied to. Okay, so we're going to get a brush with, make sure that white's in the foreground, make sure it's a nice soft brush, and that's fine. Highlight the layer mask, and we're going to gradually, and I'm not going to take you through all this because it's going to take a little bit of a while to do. We basically want to go around all the areas like the skin here with the brush and just paint in that effect that we've just applied using those filters. And there's still a little bit more to do, but once we've done that, we'll come back and we'll carry on through where we left off. So I've finished my painting. I'm going to Alt Option click on the mask to show you my mask, and you can see I've got most of the arms. I've painted out the nails. Didn't need those doing, and I've made sure her clothing's pretty much not getting any of the filter effects on it. You may need to go and refine this. You can also go in and go to Filter, Blur, and just blur the mask slightly if you want to. And just go in and make sure you have covered all those areas that need covering. Okay, so Option or Alt click on the mask to come out again. So let me show you where we are on this. Here's before. Okay, looks a bit hot and bothered. Here's after, and that's really just taking that edge off those highlights. I think you'll agree it's made quite a big difference there. She does look a lot less hot and bothered and sweaty. So next thing to do, we're going to hold down the Alt or Option key, and we're going to make a new layer. So hold down the Alt or Option key and pick out Merge Visible. That is going to merge all both of those layers into a new layer. So we could switch these off if we wanted to. Okay, and we're going to apply some sharpening to the image and bring back a little bit of the skin detail in that layer. I'm now going to convert this to a smart object so that we can have a little play around if we need to. I'm going to go to Filter and go to Sharpen, and then onto Unsharp Mask down the bottom here. And we're going to apply some sharpening just to bring out some of these skin detail again. So have a play around those. I think somewhere around a radius of 70 perhaps. Looks pretty good. Keep the threshold down quite low. Yeah, somewhere around 22 pixels. And then sharpening the amount, that's far too much. Just get it until it looks pretty good to the eye. About 55, so I've got amount 55, radius of 70, and a threshold of 22. Let's just apply that, see what that looks like. Here's before, here's after. And what we could do now is to Command or Control click on the mask here, on this one, to bring up our selection and add a layer mask to that. So just click down, add new layer mask, and that's just revealed the sharpening to the skin areas that we've applied our filters to. So there's before, there's after. So that added a little bit more realism back into the image. So I've added my adjustments to a group so we can have a quick look and see before and after. So here's before. Alright, and here's after. So notice that those highlights on the skin have just been subdued a little bit and softened and made them look a little bit less obvious. And also on the shoulder here and the arms as well. So it's added a little bit of softening to the skin and a bit more of a glow, but more importantly, it's just diffused these bright highlights somewhat. And obviously we've done this quite quickly, but you could still come in here and have a play around with these settings. Maybe this one needs to come down a little bit more, but that's down to personal taste. Obviously, if you go too far, you're going to end up like a plastic dummy, and we probably don't want that, and I'm sure she doesn't either. So there's another little tip for you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Cheers for watching.